Well, Amanda, thank you for being on the podcast.
You're very welcome.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to just give like a quick intro of who you are, what you do?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Amanda Long. I'm the co-owner of Hot Air Expeditions. My sister and I own and operate our hot air balloon company. It's a family business. We've been around for over 30 years. My sister and I are from Arizona. We just love all things Arizona.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I think this podcast is going to be interesting because, I had the pleasure to work with you guys for several years now, and I feel like we built quite a relationship. We talk all the time, So that being said, usually I go into like, okay, so how did you start the business and what was it like and this and that? But I think I'm going to go to your Instagram, Amanda. So the viewers, so we're going to really get to know you today.
Is this a PC conversation? No.
So I want to start off because with is this when you have AKA Aloe, is that just Amanda Long?
Alo, yeah.
Alo. Is that just
That's
A?
my nickname.
With that A? With
Yep.
Long.
Like J-Lo, but
Alo?
Alo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my street name.
Okay. Who calls you by this?
A few people,
Okay.
but normally just like my close friends.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll be like, "Hey, Alo," and then
Yeah.
other people won't know what they're talking
Yeah.
about. I'm like, "It's me."
That's okay.
Alo,
See,
obviously.
I'm learning things. You don't know until you ask. So you like traveling, right?
Love
Like,
traveling. That's like probably my number one.
What's your favorite spot you've been to?
That's a good question. There's so many different places I've loved, for different reasons, but like the one that pops into my mind immediately was South Africa. We went, me, my mom, and my sister, like a million years ago, like 15 years ago. But we went there and we did a safari and got to see all of the animals out in the wild, like zebras and lions, and it was like the most crazy experience ever, and we got like stranded in the desert and there was a hippo and apparently they're super dangerous. Anyways, we're alive to tell the story, so it was really, really fun and I would definitely recommend it to anybody.
Is there any special meaning behind sun worshiper?
I just like to be out in the sun.
That's fair. And good weather.
Good
for hot air
weather.
balloon.
We're in
We have
Arizona.
to,
yeah, exactly.
Music lover?
Love music.
Who's your favorite artist?
I like rap, so Lil Wayne.
Okay.
You're learning a lot here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Workout addict, obviously, with your
Yes.
spin classes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Anything you want to expand upon?
Yeah, well, I'm, just my side hustle. I'm training to become a spin instructor at the Madison Scottsdale. Shout them out. I've always loved being super active and outdoorsy, and I've been spinning for literally like 15 years. It's just something on the side that's fun for me. I'm like, I can have ballooning and I can have my fun kind of side job too.
Of course, 100%. Do you know what's the next one in your bio?
No, wait. Oh, co-owner? No.
Almost. There's one before that.
No.
Taco obsessed.
Oh,
Yes.
taco obsessed, obviously. How can you not be? If you don't like tacos, we can't be friends.
Cool. And it's just co-owner and TJ. Your
And my
your
dog,
bestie, yes.
obvi. He should really be moved to the front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My bestie, yes. Oh, well, that was fun.
Yes. I've never done that before, so that was first time for me too.
We'll
but-
see how it goes over.
No, I like it. We might start a trend of just asking people's Instagram bio.
Yeah, I
Especially
love
you had
it.
a very colorful bio too.
Yeah, I guess I did. I tried to just really sum it all up in one, however many characters they allow you.
Really? Is that like maxed out?
I'm pretty sure it's
okay.
like any Instagram bio, the only three that I run, my dog's, mine, and Hot Air's, they're all maxed out. I'm like, give me as many characters as possible.
It's so funny. Well, Amanda, how long have you been co-owner of Hot Air Expeditions?
My sister and I took over 10 years ago, so May of 2013.
Do you want to touch a little bit about the origin, like the history a little bit, with how your parents started and all of that?
Yeah, of course. Well, it's super interesting. So my parents always loved travel, kind of like they bestowed that on us too. But so they always loved travel. They actually had a travel agency before they had the hot air balloon company. So I guess one day my parents were just kind of out and about and saw a hot air balloon, and they're like, I want to do that. So my dad got his pilot's license, and my mom kind of ran kind of the back end operations. They just started out with like one little tiny balloon that carried like 2 passengers or 4 passengers in Illinois, and then moved to Arizona because we have the most flyable days per year of anywhere in the country. Moved here and just kind of started gradually growing the business over time, and we now have a fleet of like 9 hot air balloons. We can accommodate up to 90 passengers at a time, a fleet of vehicles. We've got full and part-time staff, about 40 employees. And then kind of how things transpired. So my parents actually got divorced. My mom bought my dad out of the company. So she was like, boss babe, doing her own thing, and she loved what she did, and it was so awesome to watch. She actually was taking airplane flying lessons. She was learning to fly small aircraft, and she was actually involved in a mid-air collision in an airplane, and passed away unexpectedly. So that's kind of how we ended up taking everything over. Like, if you would have said to me 15 years ago, Amanda, do you want to have your parents' hot air balloon company? I would have said, no. I want to do my own thing and make my own name and everything like that. So everything kind of happened quick and unexpected. And my sister and I kind of were just like, well, our only option is to kind of take things over and manage it as best as we can while we kind of figure out what we're going to do. I don't think in our mind it was ever like, okay, let's just sell it and be done with it, because it's been a part of our family since we were kids. Like, I have pictures of me and like as a baby, it like my little, I don't know what those baby things are called, bassinet thing, like sitting on top of a balloon basket. So it's, and like I would fold gift shop t-shirts when I was a kid, and my sister would do payroll like for our company. Like, it's so like, it's been a part of our lives for literally like as far back as we can remember. And my sister and I have always been super close, and we just kind of were like, let's figure it out. And here we are. Somehow we're still surviving 10 years later. Every day I'm like, okay, another day. Here we are.
It doesn't seem that way, you know, but was it difficult to kind of have, you know, losing your mom and then also having to pick up the business? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was really hard. It was just a lot, and I think it was just like a shock to the system. You're just kind of like, where am I? What's going on? What's the new, you know, thing that I have to figure out today? And in retrospect, I'm like thankful for the distraction. I think it like kept me not focusing on being like sad or upset or why me or something like that. But it was so crazy. There was so much to figure out. Like, she didn't have like a handbook that she left behind. Like, this is how I do this. This is how I do this. So we literally, like, the day that she passed away, the next day was payday, and she would write checks, and she needed to sign those checks. And she didn't have anybody else on the account that's able to sign those checks, and things take time, you know? So we're like going to banks, and I mean, it was just like a wild time. Like, looking back, I'm just like, how did we even do it? I don't even know, but I'm just like, if there's a will, there's a way.
Right, yeah.
If you need to, or you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. So it was crazy, but I really like, my sister was moving away at the time. She had a job with a bank in Alabama. So she was moving. We had moved her all out there. And when this happened, she moved back. And we had always been super close, but it really, like, as close as we were before, like, now we're like even more close, like bonded, like even more than I could even imagine. So there's always some kind of silver lining for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What's okay, it's funny because, you know, I've asked this question to so many of your pilots and crew.
Oh, God.
What is your favorite thing about ballooning?
There's so much that I like about it. I'm thinking about the Instagram video where I was talking and then someone commented and said my voice was annoying. I gotta tone down the way I chat. But my favorite part of ballooning is I just think it's so awesome. Like, it's something that's so unique, and every day, like 99.9% of the time, like, people are like, this was on my bucket list. Oh my gosh, we're celebrating my 60th birthday, or we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. Like, making those memories and like being able to have those experiences and something people will remember for the rest of their lives, like, is really awesome. So I mean, not there's so many things you can say about it, like how beautiful it is and how kind of like carefree it is, and how our pilots have to like literally navigate with the wind. And a lot of people are like, what? Like, they can't like wrap their brain around it. Like, I'm used to having a steering wheel. I'm used to having, like all these things where you're in control, and it's almost like giving some of that control away, which is so cool.
I mean, technology-wise, right? It's just like it's caveman level, right?
Exactly. Yeah. People are always like, "What's new in ballooning?" I'm like, it's pretty much the same. When things evolve little by little, but not really.
I mean, I feel like GPS is huge, right?
Yeah.
Like GPS, like ground crew communication.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. Ken's seen the nitty gritty, so he knows. Yeah.
What are some like operational things that people don't, I guess, like think about when it comes to hot air balloon? Because like as a passenger, you go there, everything just kind of, for the most part, very smooth. You just go there, everything sets up, you hop in, like you don't understand how complicated it is.
Yeah.
Because like at the same time, you do it 365 days.
Yeah.
So like there's no break, and in order to do that every day,
Yeah.
like what goes behind?
Yeah. Well, we've started closing on Thanksgiving and Christmas, so
For the record, don't book.
Yeah. Don't try to book on those days. We're very proud of ourselves for doing that, giving ourselves a little baby break.
363 now.
Yes. I'm like, don't get it twisted. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to make every flight happen. And I think most people are surprised too when they come out for a flight and they're like, oh, we're not taking off from, like the airport. Like we're like, no, we're driving you out to the desert. That's where all the balloons are. And then they're surprised when they see how many staff members are involved. For most of our balloons, we have one pilot and then 3 crew. And that's for one balloon, probably with 10 or 12 people. So if we've got, 5 balloons out, that's a lot of vehicles, that's a lot of people. There's a lot going on and a lot involved, especially on the back end too. Like, our office team is so awesome, and are really great about coordinating, okay, like this person's going to be picked up here, and then mapping out these hotel routes, also mapping out scheduling, mapping out our kitchen. Are there special diets? Is there things going on? So having kind of each of those departments, like our kitchen, our office, our repair team, our pilots, our crew, having those kind of separated and someone kind of manning each of those is really helpful. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, but just like anything with us, it's like if you do it for long enough, it's like the back of your hand. Easy.
Has it got better waking up in the morning?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Poor Ken. He was coming out to take photos and videos for us, and 2 times got canceled due to the weather.
Like for me,
poor guy
at least
had to drive.
But like for me, it's like okay, on this day I'm going out, I'm gonna wake up.
Yes.
The phone rings.
Yes.
You have to take it.
Yes.
So like you wake up like almost every day, right?
Yeah. So it really depends. So my schedule every day is different. It just depends on what we have going on. Again, we do have our office staff, so they are handling the phones. When my mom was running the business, she's so crazy. She didn't like have an off switch. Like, there would be calls. She would have them come to her cell phone for our business, and like 3 a.m. she'd be like, Hot Air Expeditions, this is Margie. I'm like, Mom, you don't need to be answering the phone at 3 a.m. Like, we need to have more like strict boundaries. So yeah, pretty much our office team handles all of that in the morning. we used to have it where like our pilots would call us if they were canceling and things like that. So we've got more of a streamlined process there too. So I mean, no, it doesn't get easy getting up earlier, but I think once you're in a routine of it, it's not as bad. But dang, when you break that routine, it's rough.
That's true. How do you, I think this is a skill that everyone might be able to learn from you. So I'm going to ask this.
Oh, gosh.
How do you handle disappointed customers?
Oh, it's the worst. It's so crazy because, like I was saying, like 99% of people are like happy, like literally, like it's the best thing I've ever done. And that means so much. But then when you get the one person that leaves the 1-star review or calls and wants to talk to the owner or something like that, you're just like, oh man. I feel I'm sad when that happens, and because we never want anybody to leave our experience like feeling like it wasn't the best time ever. And I think a lot of times I personally will communicate with them because I like to hear firsthand, like, what happened, like tell me about your experience, and you can kind of weed out like who's like,
Yeah, half of the time it's like,
yeah, like who's just like, can you refund me? And who's like actually has legitimate concern. But I think that it's very helpful, and I always like to just listen to what people say, and I think people appreciate being heard. And as the owner, it's just like, man, like we never want that to happen, and how can we learn from this, and how can we get better from this, and how can we make sure this doesn't happen again, because none of us are perfect. And I think that's something that's hard, is that you look around at like businesses and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one getting these types of scenarios when they do pop up, and you feel kind of like alone. And then I'll talk to like other business owners, and they're like, oh my God, I just had one of those the other day. And I'm like, oh, thank God, it's not just me. Like, we don't suck. Okay, it's good. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's very important to have those conversations and to learn from them. And like, what can we take? Like, do I need to go address this with a specific pilot or crew member? Do I need to bring it up at a meeting? Do we need to look at our process and see if that needs to be different when they're booking? Is there some kind of information that we're missing that we're not telling people about, that we should be telling people about in advance? So, and like, for example, we just put out, after we had a few situations where people are like, oh my gosh, you canceled the morning of, and I can completely understand how that's so frustrating. And they're like, can't you have more advance notice? And so when I was like finding myself explaining that a lot, and our office team explaining that a lot, so we created a blog and just talking about the various way that cancellations due to weather can happen, just so that everyone's like the most prepared. Like for us, we know this, we've been doing this for forever. It's like second nature in our brains, but putting that in our confirmation email, our reminder email, so people aren't thrown off like when that does happen, as little amount of time as it does happen, but when it does happen, they're just like not as angry.
Yeah. Just for the people that are listening, can you explain a little bit about like what kind of reasons can lead to canceling?
Yeah. Well, so hot air balloons are very weather dependent, and I'll say that to people, and then like I had to cancel like a corporate group one time, and she's like, I didn't realize the weather or the wind from my blow dryer was gonna cancel the hot air balloon, and I was like, okay. So yeah, it's great to know what can cause a cancellation. So our pilots are super skilled in what they do, and they constantly are monitoring the weather and have different forecasts specifically for like our flying area and for hot air ballooning in general. It'll show forecasts that show like wind conditions on the ground, 1,000 feet in the air, 2,000 feet in the air, and we're monitoring those conditions before, during, and after your flight. So kind of what we look for is wind conditions under 8 miles per hour before and after the flight, and then the absence of storm conditions like rain, lightning, things like that. So that's pretty generic. There was one day we had to cancel due to fog because it was stormy out and for some reason there was fog in the air. But so our pilot team is very skilled in what they do and monitoring it. And obviously we try to give everybody as much notice as possible. Sometimes it is possible and sometimes it's not. So,
because you never know until
yeah,
they actually go out there. And
right.
sometimes it's like everything looked fine
right.
30 minutes ago, but when you drive out to the field and it's like, it's too windy.
Exactly. Like, the forecast, we can literally be like where the forecast says and looking at it and it says it's good, and our pilots are like, no, it's it's like blowing like 15 miles per hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those things can happen. And again, I think that's what's hard for sometimes people to grasp, is because we're so used to being able to control everything. Like we're like, okay, I ordered my Amazon order. Okay, it's supposed to be here in 2 days. Like, okay, I see the notification that it came. So I think we're so used to this kind of like behavior and this kind of control that when something's out of our control, it just feels like not great, which I understand. So, and that's something about hot air ballooning. That's part of the beauty, but also the curse behind it is kind of the unpredictability of it.
Very nice. How do you guys have good customer service when you're doing such a volume?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have an awesome office team, and just our entire team in general. Like we want our customers to have the best experience from start to end. So it starts when, they're either chatting with someone online. So they're really chatting not with the robot. They're chatting with our office staff. So don't be weird. So it starts there, from that initial point. Like, first of all, how did you find us? Like, did you find us on TripAdvisor? Did you find us on social media? Did someone tell you about it? So it starts there. They, chat with someone in our office in one way or another, whether it's email, text, phone, or they just book directly on our website. And then from there, it's kind of in the hands of our like ground team. So from our pilots and our crew, we definitely make sure everybody has hands-on training about how we like for things to be, our procedures and our ways of doing business. So, and I think we're all on the same page as to where we're definitely professional, but we also like to have a good time. Like we understand this is, obviously, we're dealing with people's safety. It's very important. We have so many boxes that we have to check on our end, but it's also about having a fun experience. So I think everyone that works for us has, and again, it goes with kind of the unpredictability of ballooning, but I think they're all just like fun, funny, like our pilots are always dropping jokes in there, and we're all just here to have a good time and be positive, be kind to each other, and that's really what our little hot air ballooning family is all about.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the ballooning industry that just attracts interesting characters.
Yes. Yeah, we have to have like a screw a little bit loose to be in ballooning.
Yeah, because I feel like for the most part,
Ken's saying that because he worked there. Yeah,
most
super interesting people.
Most of the pilots, I feel like they get into the ballooning very early on too. Most of them, I feel like it's just like family related, or they just like they done it and they like get into it and like, oh, this is the like I don't know, I was doing ballooning since I was 6 years old. You know?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like one of our pilots that flies for us in the winter, Casey, he's like, I've been flying for 30 years. I'm like, Casey, how old are you? Like, I'm pretty sure you're like in your 30s or 40s. I'm not sure, but I'm like, that seems like a long time for someone your age. But yeah, a lot of people get involved from an early age. Sometimes it's like family, like, oh, my dad had a balloon, or my friends or family had a balloon. And it really just depends. Like Tommy, our head pilot, he was ground crew and then he worked in our kitchen and then became a pilot. So kind of happened in a different way for him. But I think everyone just like falls in love with it. It's so sweet. Like we'll have to show everybody the pilot video because it's so cute. Like John Bagwell, one of our pilots, he's like in his 70s, and he was like, I rode away for information after seeing a hot air balloon one day, and that's how he became a pilot. It's just like people just see him and fall in love with them, and I think once you do it one time, it's like, okay, I gotta keep going.
I mean, with John, you can look at him and tell he's a hot air balloon pilot.
Yes.
Have you seen those like YouTube videos, Amanda, where it's like like they'll gather like 5 people or 10 people, and then you have to like guess like something from like tallest to youngest. I don't know what it is, like it's like that, like the someone that earns the most to the least or something. Like it's like one of those videos of like, okay, like who's not the hot air balloon pilot or something, like we gotta choose like who is the hot air balloon pilot,
We need to do that.
Yeah,
A
that would be a funny video idea.
That's so funny.
Is there something that I didn't ask, Amanda, that you feel like you want to talk about?
Oh. I feel like I'm in the therapist chair. I think just in terms of just kind of some, like, if I could share something that's been helpful to us with our business, is just like, it kind of goes without saying, but first of all, if there's like a will, there's a way. Like if you need to figure something out or you want to figure something out, like you can do it. Like, and if you work hard enough, you can do it. Like who would have ever thought who would have ever thought that Steph and I, my sister and I, would be able to do this? Like, I mean, there were so many people that everyone didn't abandon ship when we took over, but there were people that, left and didn't believe in us, but there were a lot of people that stayed and believed in us. And like you can figure anything that you want to out, and you can do anything like with the right people around you and hard work and believing in yourself. And yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to go for a hot air balloon ride?
So you can find us at online at hotairexpeditions.com. You can find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, everywhere. You can also like text with someone in our office at 480-502-6999. You can also call. Yeah, and like feel free to DM or message us. I personally respond to all of those, so only send nice things. But yeah, we would love to have everybody up with us.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks.